Hello. So this video is a performance review of Agatha Christie's Witness for the Prosecution, which is performed at London's County Hall Theatre, directed by Lucy Bailey. Now, many of you will know that Agatha Christie is maybe the most beloved British crime writer ever. She's incredibly popular. Her books are beloved by readers of all ages. She is a multi-genre creator between novels and short stories, which are her primary medium, but she was also a writer for the theater. Her most famous play, without a doubt, is The Mousetrap. I will have a review forthcoming because I'm actually going to go see The Mousetrap a week from time of filming. So not today, obviously, but next Sunday, when my next round of videos goes up on this channel, there will be a review of Agatha Christie's The Mousetrap. You can look forward to that. But another one of her plays that is making a big impression in the London theatre scene right now is Witness for the Prosecution. And part of the reason why Witness for the Prosecution is such a fascinating play is because of the space in which it's performed. So this is a play that this run has been going since 2017 in the County Hall. There was an interruption for COVID, but we don't talk about COVID. So this is a run that has been going basically since 2017. And the County Hall building is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It had been the seat of London County government for a long time. It was set up for that purpose. This was a building that was designed for governmental administration. But according to our on-site EF tour guide, who I'd asked about this, Mike, who's, by the way, been an amazing person. If you ever do a study abroad class in London and you work with EF tours, request Mike Grundman. He's great. Anyway, so according to him, under Margaret Thatcher, the sort of county government of London was broken up because she was not a fan of how much power they had. So the County Hall building sort of lost its main function. It subsequently has been sort of renovated into a theater. But for Witness for the Prosecution, there's very little renovation that's been done. I'll put up a picture on the screen so that you can see this. This was the view that I had from where I was sitting in the gallery. Basically, as I was looking down from sort of stage left side, you had effectively a thrust stage into what had once been a sort of open place in the center of the sort of governmental space. And then you had chairs for officials upstage, which from my perspective was to the right, which have been repurposed to be the chairs used by the court officials. The judge sat in the high seat in the center. You had two sort of assistant, whatever they were, I don't know, sitting in the side seats. You had the sort of clerk of the court and the stenographer in the row slightly ahead of them. And so the space works really, really well. And then the thrust stage portion is surrounded by seats, which would have been the seats of the London County Councillors, or whatever the term was. I don't know if they were called councillors. Sorry, I didn't look it up. You can fact check me in the comments if counselors was not the right term. But they would have been sort of seated around there with the center of authority in the spot that is the judge's seat in this play. And so that all becomes audience seating. And then on the far side from where I was sitting, so stage right, there was a section set up for the jury, which was 12 audience members who I think paid exorbitant prices for their tickets. I mean, you can tell from the picture, I was a good ways up, and my tickets were 40-something pounds. The ones down in sort of the counselors' seats, I think, were like 140, something like that. But hey, I mean, it's central London, and it's a sort of major theater production, so the prices aren't terrible for what you're getting. But what's really sort of significant about this is that the space itself, because it was set up to be this center of governmental authority, it has this air of power, of formality. And so it works really well as a space to hold a play that is primarily, almost without exception, in fact, set in a courtroom or in the chambers of the defense lawyer. Almost everything occurs in one of those two spaces. So again, having that performance space in which the building itself, the very structure of the room, conveys authority, conveys justice, legality, etc., really works exceptionally well for a play fascinated with the questions of crime and justice. The premise of the play is the trial of Leonard Albert Vole. For some reason, I had suddenly transposed his middle name into his first name. So Leonard Vole is accused of. So he's a youngish, maybe 20s, pretty attractive dude who's sort of charmingly naive, and he has been accused by the police of murdering Emily French. Emily French was an older woman in her mid-50s, late 50s, I think 56, so mid-50s really. And she had sort of taken a liking to Vole. Different people have different perspectives. Maybe she was planning to marry him, maybe she wasn't. Who's to say, because she's dead. So, yeah, she gets murdered, brutally murdered, a few days after making a new will in which she left the vast majority of her considerable estate to Vole. And so he falls under suspicion. He retains the services of Mr. Myers, who is a defense barrister. Incidentally, Leonard Vole, played by George Jones, really, really well. He did a great job of conveying, I'm just I'm a jolly good chap, but I'm kind of dumb and naive, and occasionally I say things that are incredibly incriminating, but I don't realize they're incriminating because I'm so innocent and simple. Why would you ever believe that I did a murder? So Jones was really, really good. He really conveyed that affect, and he as a character did an excellent job of sort of bringing the audience onto his side and getting us to believe. And of course, it doesn't hurt that he also brought Myers, his lawyer, onto his side, played by Giori Sarosi. hopefully I pronounced the name right. If I didn't, I apologize. But Sir Rosie was really, really good as well. And both Myers and his assistant, Mr. Mayhew, played by, let me find it, Ewan Cummins, they both sort of talk in the play about how, he's so dumb. Like, he keeps stumbling and saying these things that are incriminating, but he says them in such a way that it's clear he doesn't realize that they're incriminating. If he were some sort of devious criminal mastermind, obviously Vole wouldn't do that. So the fact that they sort of emphasize this also emphasizes that for us as the audience. We are supposed to see Vole as this, again, sort of jolly good chap who's a little bit dim-witted, but basically well-intentioned and probably didn't murder Miss French. The other thing that sort of builds that impression is the contrast with Romaine Vole, played really, really, really well by Megan Treadway. I say Romaine Vole because that is how she's listed on the website for Witness for the Prosecution. She is ostensibly Leonard Vole's wife, whom he married in Berlin in order to help her get out of communist-controlled East Germany. However, in the play, it comes out that actually she isn't technically married to Vole, because when they had their marriage in Berlin, he was already married to someone else, and so the marriage to Vole was not legal. This is one of the first major red flags with Romaine. But Treadway had this really, really great affect for Romaine. She is sort of cold. She is very self-confident, sinister in some ways. And Myers has a lot of difficulty figuring out what to make of Romaine, because he sort of emphasizes over and over and over, if you want to save your husband, you have to tell the truth. And she tells him one story, which exonerates her husband, the story that she had told the police. In court, not so much. Yeah, so I'm not gonna spoil it in case you go see it, and I do recommend it. It's really, really good. But there's one thing about this relationship between Myers and Romaine that I found dissatisfying with the play. Not that either Sir Rosie or Treadway were bad in their acting. To the contrary, they were excellent performers. Everybody was excellent. But Myers is viscerally enraged about Romaine. Like, officially, Myers' big rival is a guy named Sir Wilfrid Robarts, played by Oliver Boot. Sir Wilfrid is the initial sort of antagonist for Myers, but that really shifts, and Myers becomes Wilfrid becomes somewhat secondary, and it is Romaine that Myers vows to destroy. Now, I will tell you, he is not entirely successful, even though there are some hints that he might be. But the reason that I mention this, it is not clear, to me, at least as a viewer, why Myers is so deeply angry at Romaine. Like, he screams at her in court. He completely loses his professional composure. When Myers and Mayhew are back in Myers's, I can't remember if it's Myers's office or his house, his like sitting room or whatever it is. Myers is just raging about Romaine. My first thought as a viewer was, okay, there is something in Myers's personal life that is leading him to this point. Something has gone awry with his wife, probably. But the only mention we have of Myers's wife is a relatively pleasant one that suggests a basically positive relationship. So it's not clear to me why Myers has such a negative reaction to her. And I really would have liked to have known that, which, in fairness, is not necessarily the fault of the production. It is probably the fault of Agatha Christie. But what are you going to do? I mean, probably the greatest crime writer of all time. Incredibly prolific. I think she left this one out.